right? So the fourth part here is also to be dictionary, but keep your feet on the ground, which is similar to all what we just said right now, because the vision is a strategy. Be visionary, know where we're going. Don't be lost in what is going on today. All the activities, all the running around here is to achieve the vision. Vision is where we want to be on the moon. But we can't just be on the moon. We have to do this little piece here, little piece here, little piece here, little piece here, little piece here to get the rocket that will fly to the moon. Be on the moon is our vision. But to get to the moon, we have to do this little part to get there. You must not lose sight of why we do all the little things that we do. At the same time, you have to make sure that the little things are done rightly. Otherwise, the vision will not be achieved, right? And that's part of some of the errors, incidents that occurred, even with NASA trying to get to the moon. You know, in the little things, they compromised. And we had some blow-ups. They were probably too focused on the vision, get to the moon, we're behind time, get to the moon, we're behind time, and lost sight of the little things that contribute to that. And they took for granted some little parts. They compromised in. And that rocket blew up, right? So leadership for effectiveness is you not losing sight of the vision. At the same time, you gotta be on ground, knowing what is going on in the tactical, right? It's a combination of the two. It's not vision or tactical. It's vision and tactical, being on the ground. It's not strategy or tactical. It's strategy and tactical. It's not being in the frame or out of the frame. It is being out of the frame and in the frame at the same time. You know, just having a healthy mix of all of this is what gives you effectiveness in the workplace. And lastly, it's create consensus, but be willing to make decisions against the majority, right? You create consensus, you allow the people to make their decisions. You make them a part of the decision process, right? You're not lording it over, like, don't just make decisions and go straight over the fence. You build a family unit with the people they are working with. Make them have a sense of belonging. Make them have a sense of ownership, you know, in what is being done. But if at any point in time you see them derailing, you are never shy to put your foot down to make sure that we don't miss the target, the vision, the reason why we congregate. So you are giving them liberty, but you are setting boundaries, right? That's important. All right, let's move on here. So talking here now generally about leadership, we look at some paradoxical thing we need to combine rightly for effectiveness. In general here, still learning from the Godfathers, all right? These are pretty much the people who ran these gold mines here, you know, who ran these gold mines at these places. I'm wondering whether I should write them as the Godfathers or the Godfathers. That's a title anyway. So we're looking at them and looking at what they did. We've looked generally at the way they do it, which we've talked about the fact that to be effective, you have to combine those things that are seemingly paradoxical, but they make a difference, right? Leadership as a whole is situational. And when I look at the word leadership is situational, that reminds me of Rabbi Daniel Lapin in his book. You know, he tells us that in the Jewish alphabet, that leadership, there's no word for leadership as ascribing to a person who is a leader in all circumstance. But a leader, but the word or the Hebrew alphabet for leader or vocabulary or vocab for leadership assumes that a leader arises according to the situation or circumstance at hand. Anybody that rises to solve the problem, to address the challenge at hand, that person is a leader. You're not a leader just because you are somewhere sitting down. You're a leader because of what you're doing, addressing an issue, doing something. Leadership, therefore, in the Hebrew vocabulary, it's a verb. It's a doing thing, right? It's not a position. It's not a noun. And we'll talk about that generally. When we talk about leadership, even in the position, leadership is not a name. Leadership is a person, and is defined by what that person does, not just who that person, not just who that person is, as it were, but what that person does, right? It's a being thing. But that's a being thing. It's a doing thing, not a being thing. However, we all know that there's no doing without a being, right? But we're saying that a leader is a leader when he shows up, not a leader that we just assume has innate qualities but is not showing up. You have to show up to be a leader or to be seen as a leader, right? When there's a problem and nobody's addressing it, there's no leader in that circumstance. A leader is one that rises to the occasion of life, right? I know people love names. They want to call, I'm leader, I'm the most right apostle, yet has no clue on how to address the challenges before him. But he loves the name. He loves the name, but doesn't want to do the work, right? So no leadership style is universal, right? One leadership style can work in this circumstance, might not necessarily work in that circumstance. So a leadership again is situational. A leader would not copy what worked for him in this circumstance to that circumstance. A leader thinks, a leader, gets feedback. A leader goes to every new circumstance, to address what he or she meets on ground. You might have your experience, how it's worked for you all this while, but if you just dub it in this new circumstance, you're not a leader. You can be any other thing, but you're not a leader, because a leader relates to the problem, relates with the challenge at hand, right? So if you're not relating to the challenge at hand, you're not a leader, right? You need to relate to the challenge at hand because you're trying to address a problem. You're trying to solve an issue on ground, right? So no leadership style is universal, right? Every leadership style is addressed or attuned to the circumstance, the environment, the situation, the challenge at hand, right? No leadership style works in all situations, right? What works in this situation might not necessarily work in that situation. You have to develop one that works for the challenge you await, right? The truths are the same. Now, the truths are the same. Truths are transferable, but their interpretation might not be the same, right? The way you interpret the truth in one situation, circumstance, as against the way you do it in another might be different. Doesn't change the truth. Truths are the same, but you need to be mindful of the circumstance, the place where you are, and interpret it to suit the reality of those people without losing the value of the truth itself. Right? We're not saying you dilute the truth, but you make it applicable in the circumstance before you, right? The way you do a thing when you go to cattle rearers might be different from the way you say it when you're dealing with crop people. Might be different from the way you are talking to fishermen. Might be different from the way you're talking to people that work in the office. Might be different from the way you are going to address it when you're talking to market women. The truth is the same, but the way you interpret it for them to understand and be able to apply it in the specific of their circumstance is what is different. Because at the end of the day, what you're looking for is effectiveness. You're trying to move the dial. You're trying to move the dial. Religious people don't know this. Religious people just think that the way it was interpreted here must be the way it was interpreted here. Religious people don't think, because they're not doing things from their heart. They are doing it because they feel obliged to do it, right? They feel that if they don't do it, it will be a sin. Then they are not married the assignment. They are doing it as a slave to a master job. They are not taking ownership of the assignment. In Yoruba, will say that if they send you the job of a slave, go deliver it like a son. Own it. Own it. Don't be stupid. Own it. They send you the job of a slave. Own the job and deliver it as if you are a son. Right? So great leaders are flexible. That's what makes them great leaders. Right? Great leaders are flexible. They're sensitive to people's emotion. They're sensitive to the humanity they're dealing with. They're sensitive to the circumstance they meet. They're sensitive to the environment they meet. They're sensitive to the culture they meet. They are sensitive to the tradition they meet. Right? That's what makes them effective. Right? So bad leaders are static. They're religious people. They're people who don't bring their mind to the work. You just do their head. They're dogma people, right? They're doing it because they say we should do it, right? Like some people that go to preach, they're preaching just because their pastor said they must preach. They have zero love for the people they are preaching to. They're just doing it because the pastor said it'll be a sin if they don't do it, or they'll go to hell. So they're not doing it because they love the people they are preaching to. They are doing it because they are trying to run away from hell, right? They feel like God will punish them if they don't do it. Those are slaves. They live in jobs as like slaves. They aren't going to be effective that way, right? You got to marry the job. You got to love it and deliver it with love, right? That's how you become effective, right? So great leaders are flexible. They know how to adjust what they are delivering without diluting the power and the meaning and the essence of the message. But they're putting themselves in the shoes of the people they are delivering it to, and they're asking themselves, how can this be effectively delivered to me? Knowing the reality of my IQ, the reality of my consciousness, and you want to bring them to this consciousness, how best can this be passed across? Then you do it that way. Right? So bad leaders are static. They don't think. The only tool they have is an hammer, and therefore they tend to see every problem as a nail. That's what bad leaders do. You call them boss, right? You call them boss, and I've met a few, right? They don't think. They're immature. Their IQ is low, right? Even though they think it's not. All right.